Thank you for watching Why I Killed You TV. Please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this particular video and this particular YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate it. So today we're going to be talking about the only suspect in the Michael Gaine case, and that was Michael Kelley. And also I'm going to be sharing with you guys this particular document towards the end of this video concerning what I found regarding Michael Kelley. It is just amazing what you can find online concerning people. It's crazy. So we're going to talk about that. So right now I'm going to get you up to speed, and then after all is said and done, we're going to be talking about Michael Kelley in this particular document, like I said, that I found online. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this particular video and this particular YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate it. So let me get you up to speed regarding the Michael Gaine case. Michael Gaine, he was a farmer from Ireland. He disappeared March 20th, 2025, after saying that he was going to meet somebody about a tractor trailer. Okay, he owned over 1,000 acres of farmland. Michael Kelley, who was 53 years old, he was from Maine. He lived at the Gaine's farm for the last 3 years rent-free in exchange for farm work. So he was living there on the farm rent-free. Now let's get something straight. Michael Gaine, even though he owned the farmland over 1,000 acres, like I said before, he did not live on the farm. He lived elsewhere. So when he disappeared, he didn't really disappear from the farm. He disappeared from his own home, where he never came back to. Okay. However, they're saying the last time that Michael Kelley and Michael Gaine ever communicated was actually at the farm. Okay. Kelley did daily chores like using the slurry tank and doing things like that for Michael Gaine, taking care of the animals, doing odds and ends. And we all know, those of you who are not familiar with the case, that Michael Gaine was found inside of the slurry tank spreader. So what happens with the slurry tank? The slurry tank is a big old tank where animals and feces and urine, they defecate inside of this slurry tank. Somehow it gets into the slurry tank, and what happens is a slurry tank spreader gets all of the manure and the urine out of the slurry tank, and it spreads it. The spreader spreads it on the farmland. And what happened is, even though this particular slurry tank had already been checked by the Gardaí, what happened is, when they were trying to spread the manure using the slurry tank spreader, what happened is it got clogged up. The nephew was present at the time when the slurry spreader got clogged up, and guess what happened? They said, hey, stop. You know, it got clogged up, and guess what happened? The remains of Michael Gaine were found inside of the slurry tank. He was chopped up very, very fine. At first, they thought that it was a chainsaw that was used, because they found a chainsaw actually on the property. But later on, the Gardaí are thinking that it's a possibility that a sword or a sword-like object was used to cut Michael Gaine up. They said he was chopped up so small, guys, so small and precise, it was unfreaking believable. And they believe to this day they have collected all of his body parts. I'm not really too sure about that. Police questioned Mr. Michael Kelley first. He was their first ever suspect. He was arrested on May the 18th, and he was released on May the 19th without any charges. So he was kept for like 24 hours. They didn't have enough to keep him, so they wind up saying, hey, we're going to have to let you go. And that's exactly what happened. Kelley has maintained his innocence up until this very day, and he is saying that he did not kill Mr. Michael Gaine. He said that they had a friendship. They had a cordial friendship, and they had a friendship for the last 3 years. Like I said, he was actually staying on the Gaine farm property for free. Okay, so my whole thing is, why would he kill a man? Because he knows if this man winds up dead, which he did wind up dead, then he would have to move. And that's exactly what happens. He no longer, to my knowledge, lives on the farm. So that part makes no sense whatsoever. Why would he kill this man? You kill this man, and all of a sudden you're not going to have any other place to live. Okay, so Kelley is claiming he has been innocent up until this very point, and he says some type of organized crime group is involved with trying to put this off on him. Some big Ireland organized crime group is trying to frame him for the murder of Michael Gaine. So Michael Kelley makes a very, very good point. He says that the slurry tank, the timeline for the slurry tank makes absolutely no sense, and I totally agree with him, that it was checked in late March by the Gardaí and nothing was found. But body parts showed up in mid-May. He says this is very suspicious, and I think it's very suspicious too. However, I am thinking whoever killed, and this is my personal opinion, guys, take it or leave it, do whatever you want with it, but I am thinking that whoever killed him had to have access to that particular farm. I have always said that in all of my videos, okay, concerning this particular case. Kelley filed a complaint against the police, the ombudsman, because he said he was treated unfairly during the interview process, okay? And so police have taken items from the farm, including a chainsaw and a rope for testing, and the lab results have come back, and they are saying that no, the chainsaw was not involved in the dismemberment of Michael Gaine. Gardaí are keeping details very secret these days. However, they are holding a peer review. I don't know why you're going to hold a peer review right now in the middle of a murder case, but they're holding a peer review to figure out what they need to do differently in order to solve this particular crime and other crimes like this, or other crimes that might come up in the future. Let's just face it, guys, the Gardaí has not had a good record with finding people who do this type of activity, okay? They have a lot of unsolved murders out there in Ireland, okay? Investigators believe that Gaine knew his killer, okay? So if they believe that Gaine knew his killer, then there's a possibility that Michael Kelley could be the killer, even though I totally disagree. What would he have to benefit by killing this man, okay? I'm sure he's not on the insurance policy. I'm sure Mr. Gaine is not leaving him the farm. Matter of fact, he was going to be homeless if something happened to Mr. Gaine, and that's exactly what happened. And now he doesn't live on the farm anymore. So to me, that motive makes no sense. A lot of people are saying that maybe money was involved, maybe something with the land, or maybe some type of personal dispute that he might have had with a neighbor, but we're not really sure what's going on. So just as I promised, we are going to go with this document that I found online, and I'm shocked that this is even online. Some of you might not be shocked, but I'm shocked you can find this kind of stuff online. It's just amazing the kind of stuff that you can find online. And this is concerning Michael Kelley. Now, his real name is Michael C.P. Kelley. We all call him Michael Kelley. Those of you who have been following the case knows that he originally lived in Maine. He is from the United States. He was a former Marine, and actually he was like the handyman for Mr. Michael Gaine, okay? And so evidently, guys, if you've been following the case, the Gardaí actually flew out to interview Mrs. Alicia J. Snow. Alicia J. Snow evidently had a relationship with Michael Kelley, and they have 2 daughters together. Now, this decision came down from the Maine Supreme Judicial Court in 2009, and that was quite some time ago, and I'm sure the daughters are grown by now. And like I said, his real name is not Michael Kelley. His real name is Michael C.P. Kelley. Not really sure what the C.P. is all about. I'm not really sure what that stands for. Now, call him what you want, but it looks like he is very proactive in his daughters' lives. It says Michael Kelley and Alicia Snow were involved in a romantic relationship and are the biological parents of 2 daughters, and they are separated. Kelley was brought this parental rights action. Evidently, in a nutshell, all this is pretty much saying is that they're going to share joint custody of both the children. However, the final say-so will go with Mrs. Snow. If they're not able to come to a decision, then Mrs. Snow has the final say. The order also awarded primary residence to Mrs. Snow. In other words, the children were going to be staying with Mrs. Snow. Now, this makes a lot of sense, guys. I guess Michael Kelley has been staying in Ireland for the last 7 years, and the last 3 years he's actually been working with Mr. Gaine as the handyman. So his daughters were pretty much almost grown when, and I'm not really sure how old they were when this particular judgment was handed down, but his daughters should have been either teenagers or almost grown by the time he decided he was going to up, jump, and move to Ireland, and that's what's going on right now. Now, Ireland, and they are trying to deport him, but right now it's not a good idea to deport him because they're trying to figure out if he killed Michael Gaine or not. So right now, that's pretty much up in the air. But Michael Kelley did complain to the Gardaí ombudsman because he felt that he was done wrong during the interview process, even though the Gardaí only held him for 24 hours, and then they wind up letting him go because they said they did not have enough evidence against him to hold him in the case of Michael Gaine. So that's what's going on right now. So like I said, call him what you want, call him a murderer or call him whatever you want. It seems like back in the day he was very proactive in his children's life to the point where he wanted joint custody of his children, and that's exactly what he got. However, the final decision laid with Mrs. Snow. She had the final decision, the final say-so what happens with the girls. However, he was proactive in his children's lives, according to this particular document that I found online. So call him a murderer, call him a deporter, or whatever you want to call him. Like I said, he deported from the United States to Ireland, and you guys out there in Ireland are trying to deport him back, and he's saying, no way, I am not about to do that. So call him whatever you want, but I call him a proactive dad, especially back in the day in 2009 when this particular judgment was handed down regarding his children. So guys, I don't want to scroll down too far, but it's just amazing the stuff you find online. And if I scroll down any further, you're going to actually see his address, and you're going to see Mrs. Snow's address in this particular document, and I don't want to do that. So the biggest question is, who had something to gain by Michael Gaine no longer being here? Who could gain from his death? And I say you have to look at people who were on his insurance policy, and then you're going to have to look at people who are going to inherit that farm. Like I said, that's no small operation. There's over 1,000 acres that will be inherited by somebody. And who is that somebody? Those are the people I will be looking at first, for sure.
They hate you. You're gonna die. I don't want to do this.